Yeah, and when you look at it, with the Florida Tennessee, that's always a game that if you go back to yesteryear, you and I are college football nerds. You go back to Phil Fulmer, Steve Spurrier days, T. Martin, Peyton Manning, Rex Grossman, all those Florida quarterbacks from yesteryear. That used to be a game that decided the SEC East. That's not the case anymore because of Georgia's dominance. But while I have you, since you brought that up, I believe that Josh Heupel could do two things. One, say, you know what? Told you, Milton's my guy. He's a hell of a quarterback. Number two, told you, Tennessee is in a healthy football spot. Conversely, if he beats down Florida, and we're sitting here this Sunday morning talking about, Jimbo's got to get things going. If you're Billy Napier, who's in a better spot year two right now this morning than Mario Cristobal? Who's going to be in a worse spot in year two come next Sunday if this game's not even competitive?
Yeah, here I go. After telling myself I wouldn't go into overdrive, but I'm going to, because this is a must-win game for Billy Napier. Now, you can interpret that any way you want.
Yeah.
Because he's got a $30 million price tag, and Scott Strickland, the very outstanding athletic director down there, has been behind him, and I think he can save him and get him to the next season. But in terms of the noise, he can't. Nobody can stop the noise for Billy Napier if this game goes poorly. And I'm not saying I'm not promoting a moral victory at Florida. And by the way, Steve Spurrier has reminded me every time I've ever seen him that he was 4-0 against Peyton Manning. We're talking the 90s here, okay? We're not talking about yesterday. So that this game matters greatly. And if for some reason Tennessee goes in there and just lays one on them, the noise next Sunday morning for Billy Napier, in terms of believing he can get the job done, will be loud.
Yeah, that's not great because I genuinely like Billy, but this is great that we're already in week 2 and there are little cracks across the college football map of programs, teams, and storylines. It doesn't take long for these to bubble up.
But Matt and the guy, there are a lot of coaches that Heupel has made it difficult for some coaches how quickly he got things done. But there's one coach who's making it impossible for everyone, and that's Coach Prime. You can't say, as athletic directors tell you and me all the time, we need time. It's going to take a couple of years. The transfer portal is your best friend or your greatest enemy. And if you're Billy Napier, you can't say, we got this thing going in the right direction. That doesn't play in a fan base, and anybody who's seen DraftKings, Swamp Kings, probably sponsored by DraftKings. I was talking to Tebow the other day, and he was telling me a story about the end of Swamp Kings when he walks into the swamp, and the score, it points up there and it says Gators national champions 2006 and 2009, and he said 2006 and 2008, and he said the fact that it doesn't say 09 is one of the greatest regrets of my life. That's a guy who's to this day, 15 years later, is still angry over not winning 3 national championships in 4 years, and Billy Napier can't even get a significant win.
It is an era, which, by the way, back in Tebow's era at Florida, social media was primitive.
Yeah.
So you didn't have all of this promotion, self-promotion, and fans yelling, screaming. But right now, if Deion Sanders, if he wanted to, which he does, because you hit on it there, portal is a coach's best friend. If Deion wants to, he can take over college football. It's that simple. If he wants to, and just pick and choose and say, player X at this school, why don't you come on in? I got you. Who's going to tell him no?
No, you're right. Matt, we're still, no matter what we talk about, we're going to end on Deion. And there are very few phenomenons in any platform. We see it occasionally in the entertainment world. We see it in politics. We see it in the arts. But in college football, the idea of someone coming in and being the only topic of conversation. I mean, I had a really I had a squeeze the other day. I had something to do for ESPN at 10:30. I was on with First Take, and I had an eye appointment at 8:30, and I get, you get in, they dilate your eyes, and at 9 o'clock the doctor walks in and he goes, "Hey man, what about this thing with Deion Sanders?" And I said, "How about just checking my eye and getting me out of here? Okay, I don't want to talk to you about Deion Sanders, because I mean, it doesn't matter who you are, where you are. That's the conversation, and that's scary if you're Billy Napier, even if you're Nick Saban." Because he may come and get your player if he wants it.
He is a generational disruptor to a sport that we've long loved and followed, and I think it's good for the sport to get a little bit of disruption. Having said all of that, that means I will bet a paycheck on it. SEC Nation's got to be going to Colorado next week, right?
We are. It's the first time in history that we have two non-SEC schools, but we can't help it. We have to be there.
Sankey ordained it, because right at the end of the day, he's gonna be like, "Hey, Prime, you want to come play in the Southeastern Conference from Boulder, Colorado?" Hey, great stuff. What a Saturday it was. I am anxiously nervous, if that's even a phrase, sleep exhaustion, to know what the topics will be next Sunday, because little by little they're starting to unfold, and here we are, week 2 of the college football season. Paul Finebaum on the Matt Barrie Show on a Sunday. Paul, have a great week. Look forward to doing this again with you.
Thank you, Matt.
Thanks for watching ESPN on YouTube. For live streaming sports and premium content, subscribe to ESPN+.